Hasn't played very well at this Open, but she has survived and she's in the finals. So, Scott, there's definitely some buzz about tomorrow's match.
And speaking of Azarenka, what about this guy Stanislaus Wawrinka? I mean, there is a second tennis player in Switzerland. Federer needed somebody to volley with. And this guy's in the semifinal.
He certainly is playing Novak Djokovic. Wawrinka is playing like Switzerland's heir apparent because Federer bombed out early at the U.S. Open. Wawrinka destroyed Andy Murray in the quarterfinals. He has a powerful one-handed backhand that John McEnroe calls the best in the game, and John McEnroe doesn't lie. Wawrinka plays Djokovic today, and it could be a doozy. The two played a 5-hour epic at this year's Australian Open. The Djokovic won 12-10 in the fifth set.
As you may know, another sports beginning this weekend. Actually, technically it began on Thursday. The Broncos beat the Ravens 49-27. Peyton Manning, age 37, threw 7 touchdowns, and a couple of them, of course, went to Wes Welker. Came over to the Broncos and charmed like Wes Welker because he caught passes from Tom Brady with the Patriots for 6 years and is now getting them from Peyton Manning. You want to see how good Wes Welker is? Have him try and catch a pass from Jay Cutler of the Bears. Go ahead.
Ouch. And Welker
That's what he'd say. Ouch.
Yeah, and Welker won't compare Brady again. He says it's like comparing Michelangelo and Picasso. Two gentlemen some 400 years apart who aren't often compared, but we get the idea.
So tell us about this rule that could really profoundly affect the football, the read option rule.
Yeah, well, the read option is a play when the quarterback hands off the ball to the running back or keeps the ball himself, and the quarterback makes his decision after he quickly reads how the defense is reacting. And when it works, it can freeze the defense and result in big rushing yards. We've seen young mobile guys like Seattle's Russell Wilson, Washington's Robert Griffin III, San Francisco's Colin Kaepernick use it very well. Mm-hmm. The NFL this week clarified rules saying the defensive players can hit the quarterback during a read option play, not only if the quarterback runs with the ball, but also if the quarterback hands it off and still looks like he has the ball as a way to fake out the defense. Now, defenses love this because it gives them a little more opportunity to punish the quarterback, who's become the most protected player on the field. Coaches don't like it. San Francisco head coach Jim Harbaugh yesterday called
Harbaugh took it. Well, because this obviously could affect his man, Colin Kaepernick.
His man, Colin Kaepernick. It'll be interesting to see if the rules clarification inhibits Kaepernick or other read option quarterbacks from using the play.
And here's Tom Goldman. Thanks so much.
You betcha.
And you're listening to Weekend Edition from NPR News. Tomorrow, the International Olympic Committee will meet in Buenos Aires to decide which sport, wrestling, the combined sports of baseball and softball, or squash will be added to the 2020 Olympics. Now, if squash is chosen, it would make its debut as an Olympic sport. Jonathan Power is the first North American to become the world's top-ranked squash player. He joins us on the line now. Thanks very much for being with us.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Give us what we call here your elevator speech. Why should squash be included?
I feel strongly about the fact that it's played in 180 different countries by 20 million different people, and it's a real global sport. And right now, the countries that are dominating the sport of squash are countries that don't traditionally win a lot of sports in the Olympics, like Egypt and Pakistan and those types of countries. And it'd be nice for them. They've had the sport of squash for 200 years. But truly, right now, in the last tournament, I think the 8 quarterfinalists, 8 people were from 8 different countries.
Is it a good television sport?
That just depends on budget. If you put in what you put in to do a baseball game or a basketball game or a hockey game, you're going to get that back. Right now, it's like bringing your mom's handy cam to Madison Square Garden right now, the way they produce it.
Don't they play it with glass walls in some places?
Yeah, so it's one-way glass walls. They put some of the tournaments are at the foot of the pyramids or in Grand Central Station. They can basically put this 4-wall glass court in some really spectacular settings. And a lot of people play squash as a lifetime sport. So there's 20 million people that play squash into their 60s. So there's a fanatical fan base. And where a lot of the other sports, you wouldn't do something like wrestling recreationally, unless you're really sort of pissed off at your brother. But
A final scholarly question, Mr. Power, because after all, this is NPR and we have a veneer of scholarliness. Well, is it true squash began in debtor's prison?
Yeah, started by the British officers in the prisons, I think, of India, Pakistan, a couple hundred years ago, and has a long history, and it's a phenomenal sport.
Did it begin with British officers playing in jail cells?
Yeah, the prison guards, they started up there, and then I guess some of the prisoners would get involved later on, but it started with the British officers sort of just bored watching the prisoners, and they started hitting the balls up again in this sort of 3-wall or 4-wall sort of space, and they started putting lines and boundaries, and came up with the rules, started taking off in the prisons in British India, and most of the sports originated from the British.
Jonathan Power, the world's former #1 squash player, thanks very much for being with us.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
This is NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR member stations and from IBM, working to help mid-sized businesses become the engines of a smarter planet. Learn more at ibm.com/engines. From Newman's Own Foundation, giving all profits from Newman's Own to charity and pursuing the common good for over 30 years. And from Al Jazeera America, introducing a new TV news channel. There's more to it. Local listings at aljazeera.com/America. This is NPR.
Hi, it's us looking back to Tampa Brothers. When we diagnose car problems, we like to approach things methodically. We'll go with the brakes first, differential second, and Martians third. Our process is both mechanical and anthropological. The car that you drive is not something that appeals to a guy.
Oh, I can keep my old 95 Jeep and get a man?
No, that's not going to work.
Okay, see?
Join us for car talk.
Saturday mornings at 10 here on 90.1 WABE.
You're tuned to Weekend Edition here on 90.1 WABE, Atlanta's NPR station. Good Saturday morning. I'm Jim Rose. It's nice to have you along. WABE is listener supported, and your sustaining membership makes a real difference. Find out why sustainers matter at wabe.org/support. And thanks. From the WABE Traffic Center, a construction note. This is I-85 at Lindbergh Drive. Constructions on the bridge there is causing the HOV lane to be closed today. And then I-285 on the north side, congested. This is westbound between Buford Highway and Chamblee Tucker Road. Average speed only about 25 miles per hour.